Today we talked about volume. Volume in 8th grade really only involves about 3 different shapes. We'll get into those 3 shapes in just a minute. But before we get too far into volume, you need to learn this new symbol. It looks like an oddly shaped bee, but kind of with a tail, right? This new symbol means area of the base. We're going to have objects that have a base shape, and this new symbol means the area of that base shape. So first we're going to start off with prisms. In a prism, all of the faces, all of the sides are rectangles, and you have a top and a bottom that are both called bases. So for instance, in this green shape in the middle, my top and bottom shape are pentagons. So this is a pentagonal prism. Over here I have a hexagonal prism, and off to the left I have an octagonal prism. Okay. The volume of a prism is the area of the base times the height. So for instance, here I've got a pentagonal prism. The area of the pentagon base is 15 square inches, and the height of the prism itself is 10 inches. So I take the area of the base, multiply it by the height, and I get a grand total of 150 cubic inches. Remember, these are 3-dimensional objects. I have inches times inches times inches, which gives me cubic inches in the end. All our units are going to be cubic units. So now I've got a cylinder. We're going to treat this just like a circular prism, so that our base shape is that circle. The radius of the circle is what's important, and our radius is 9 centimeters. If the diameter is 18, our radius goes from the center to the edge, which is 9 centimeters. So I need to find the area of that circle in order to find the area of my base. Area of a circle is pi r squared, where r stands for the radius, and for pi we're going to use the pi button on our calculators. So to find the area of my circle, I have pi, I'm going to insert my radius where r is, and I'm going to square it. Remember, that means 9 times itself. So this is going to be 81 times pi. There's the area of just the circle, pi r squared. To get the volume of my whole cylinder, I have to do the area of the base multiplied by the height of the cylinder. The area of our base shape, area of the circle, was 81 pi. I'm going to multiply that by the height of the cylinder, which in this case is 5 centimeters. Obviously not drawn to scale, but we'll let that go for now. So the height is 5. In order to find my total volume, I'm going to multiply all 3 parts together. 81 times 5 times pi. And I'm going to do that using my calculator. I'm going to do 81 times 5 times, and I'm going to use the pi button on my calculator and hit equal. If I'm going to round to the nearest tenth, I'm going to get 1272.3. 1272.3. 1272.3. And I need to remember to put in my cubic units, so this time I'm talking about cubic centimeters. Here is my volume rounded to the nearest tenth. Now sometimes you're going to be asked to leave your answer in terms of pi, which means you're going to multiply everything else but not the pi itself. So if I have to leave it in terms of pi, I'm just going to multiply the 81 and the 25, or sorry, and the 5. If I did that 81 times 5, I would get 405. So I could also write my volume as 405 pi cubic centimeters. These two volume answers are exactly the same answer. Just one I didn't multiply by pi. I left pi as part of my answer. And on the other one, I used the pi button on my calculator and made it into a decimal. Here I have a rectangular prism. The base is going to be the rectangle that's on top and underneath. Really, since all of these are rectangles, it's not going to matter which one I choose to be my base. For my volume, I've got to do the area of the base times the height. The area of this rectangle, that's an 11 by 8 rectangle. So the area of my base is going to be that 11 by 8 rectangle. And the height of the whole prism is going to be 3. In a rectangular prism, you only have 3 dimensions. You have height, you have width, and you have depth. You only have 3 dimensions. And so to find volume, you're going to multiply those 3 dimensions together. Rectangular prisms are some of the easiest to find volume for, because that's all I'm doing is multiplying my 3 dimensions together. So in my calculator, I'm going to multiply those 3 numbers, 11 times 8 times 3, and I get 264 cubic meters. Volume of a rectangular prism. We're going to move on to pyramids. In a pyramid, I basically have a prism that's had a third of it, or 2/3 of it shaved off. So my volume for a pyramid is just like it is for a prism, area of the base times the height. But a pyramid's only going to take up a third of the space that a prism would. So I'm still going to do area of the base times the height, but then I'm going to divide by 3 in the end to make it a pyramid. So here I have a square pyramid. Pyramids are also named for their base shape. The base of this pyramid is a square that's 32 inches by 32 inches. In order to find the area of my base, I'm going to have to multiply 32 times 32. That's how I find the area of a square. So 32 times 32 gives me 1024. The area of the square is 1024. That's my base shape. So to find volume, I'm going to do the area of my base multiplied by the height of the pyramid. Now, height of the pyramid is the 30 inches down the middle. 34 is not a measurement I want to use. That's called slant height, and that's something different entirely. So I'm going to use the 30-inch height, and then I'll divide by 3 to make it a pyramid volume. So I'm going to take that 1024, I'm going to multiply it by 30, then divide by 3. I get 10,240 cubic units. 10,240, and my units this time are going to be cubic inches. Here's the volume of the pyramid. With a cone, we're going to treat this like a circular pyramid. So first things first, to find the area of the base, we have to find the area of a circle with radius of 6 inches. So area of my base, again, is going to be pi r squared, which is pi times my radius of 6 squared. 6 to the second power, remember that's 6 times itself. That's going to give me 36 pi. So my volume then is going to be the area of the base, 36 pi, multiplied by the height of the cone, which is 10. And then because this is treated like a pyramid, I'm going to divide by 3. So on my calculator, I'm going to do 36 times pi times 10 and then divide by 3. So let's do that. Let's get some of these out of our way. We're going to do 36 times, I'm going to use the pi button on my calculator, times 10. Then I'm going to take all of that and divide by 3. If I round to the nearest hundredth this time, I would get 376.99. 376.99. And I'm talking cubic units for volume, so I have cubic inches. Here's my approximated volume. Last but not least, we've got to talk about volume of a sphere. The formula for volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed, or to the third power. The only measurement that I'm missing is that radius. That's the only thing I need to find volume of a sphere. Everything else is filled in. So to find my volume, I'm going to take my 4/3 pi. I'm going to put in my radius of 4 to the third power. Same formula, just with my radius plugged in. In my calculator, this means 4 to the third power, 4 times 4 times 4, times by pi, and to multiply by 4/3, I'm going to multiply by 4, then divide by 3. That's going to give me the same effect as multiplying by 4/3. So 4/3 pi times 4 to the third power. I'm going to do 4 to the third power. I'm going to multiply that by pi. Then I'm going to multiply by 4 and divide by 3 to multiply by 4/3. If I'm going to round to the nearest tenth, I would get 268.1. 268.1. And my units are going to be in cubic miles. Watch your units, and to show your work, you're going to show me the formula with your numbers plugged in, and then you can just use your calculator to finish it up. Pay attention to the instructions to know where you're supposed to round to, whether it's tenths or hundredths. Remember to write down any questions so you can come and ask me in class. Your assignment to go with this is the volume worksheet. I'll attach it on Skyward and put it on the website. Have fun and good luck. Don't forget your calculator.